Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of This Week in College Football. As you can see, there's three of us now. We're joined by Ben, also known as CFB liaison, and Sonny, my normal co-host. We're going to talk about the Big Ten today. What's going on, guys?
What's up,
Hey,
guys? Ben, it is great to have you on the show.
yeah, for sure. I can't wait to talk about the Big Ten. Since they're running college football and live rent free in the southern part of the United States.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it. I
it's,
love
it's gonna be it's gonna be great to open up our preseason discussion with the second best conference in the country.
Oh, that's ridiculous. They're definitely the best conference in the country. Anyway, we're not here to debate that today. What we're going to start with USC. USC this season, I think Lincoln Riley is somehow becoming underrated as a head coach.
Oh
Do you
Really?
disagree?
no, I do not even close to agree to that. I think that he has had so much time. I mean, since Tulane, look what Tulane's had two different head coaches. They beat them. A quarter of the resources. And we've been rebuilding for how many years now? 4 or 5 years, and they had easy schedules in the Big Ten the last few years. So I would disagree with that. He's definitely underachieved.
Yeah, and that schedule's not going to get any easier this year.
This
No,
schedule is dead.
Lincoln Riley is firmly on the hot seat, and it would not surprise me at all if there's somebody else roaming the sidelines in LA next year.
I don't think he
really.
makes it. I don't think he makes it out of Madison. I think
I think
Madison,
we're
Ohio State.
vastly different.
No, because Penn State is going to be really, really good. Washington's getting a lot better. They've improved, and Coach Fish is a great coach. Oregon, I mean, they're not going to. I mean, they won 8. They're 2-8 against them in the last 10, and then you go, and then Penn State and Wisconsin are the two hardest places maybe to play in all of college football. And then you have at home against Ohio State. That's a really hard 4-game stretch or 5-game stretch.
And then you have a bye and you play Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they have a bye before Indiana. I think Ohio State and Indiana are back to back, aren't they?
No, they have a bye here. They have a. It's Ohio State's on Halloween, then a bye, then Indiana the 14th.
Yes. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then we got the Maryland Terps who beaten them the last time, if you don't recall. And then UCLA, I think, is going to be a lot better.
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna be a lot better. I really like Jaden Mayava though. I don't think Mike Locksley will be here for this game though on November 21st.
Oh, I don't.
No,
I agree with that. I
no,
agree.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean if we go to Maryland's schedule, I don't think they have the kind of schedule. I think Mike Locksley's a lame duck. I think he's definitely gonna get fired this year.
And they're just recruiting, like, especially last year's team was just so much underclassmen, almost the opposite of Indiana, where they're all going with really young players. And that's just really, really hard to do.
Yeah, this schedule is kind of brutal for Maryland. Wow, I have not I haven't really taken a look too much before this. This is a brutal schedule. Sonny, what do you think Maryland's record is?
It is, and I think they could start 2-0, right? Like UConn isn't great, but they should be able to beat UConn. I'm telling you right now, they better hope they beat Rutgers. I know you're going to think I'm intentionally going after Rutgers, but I'm not. I have them going 3-9 this year. Only win in the conference being against Purdue. I'm so tired of hearing what a great recruiter Mike Locksley is. Yes, he is, but guess what? At some point, it's got to pay off on the field, and it's been how many years now, and it just isn't. He's not a great head coach. He's a great assistant, but he's just not a good head coach. I think this is his final year at Maryland also.
Yeah, I coached against him in 2019 when we were at Temple, and we stopped him 4 times within the 5-yard line, and and our team, and I think is like that UConn team from last year, kind of, is UConn is not the old of UConn joke of a program like in 2019 where we beat them by like 35. I think is that they could give Maryland problems. Like look what NIU did last year.
Yep.
NIU took them down. NIU was like 2-8, like not very good in the Mountain West. So, I just think is that they have to beat Virginia Tech. I think is a game that UConn and Virginia Tech, the out of conference, you have to win. You have to win go 3-0 in my opinion. Just to the locker room believe. But sorry,
there's absolutely zero chance they beat Virginia Tech this year. In fact, I think Virginia Tech absolutely steamrolls Maryland. I'm talking 50-plus point blowout.
that's a bit. You really think that? I don't know.
That's bold.
I do.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah. No, that is bold. I do think that Maryland is going to be bad. I think Virginia Tech will win that game. It's weird though, because Mike Locksley gets talent on the field, but like I just can't coach. Like you just.
Here's the thing about the Virginia Tech game, though. If Maryland wins, I come out of that game feeling a lot worse about Virginia Tech than I do better about Maryland. I feel like it's a no-win situation for them in this game.
I mean, I think it's like, especially if you go back to way before when he was at Illinois in 2008, and you look at when he was the offensive coordinator, his offenses were built, pound the football, run the football with Juice Williams and everything. And now it's more like this pass, really, really, more oriented where they really struggle to run the ball. And I just think is that really has, puts his defense in a lot of a bind if the offense isn't, really, really good.
And there's nothing wrong with evolving your offense the way he has, but the problem is it hasn't really gone anywhere. He's trying to move it forward, but it just keeps going backwards no matter what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's also really hard. Maryland is just kind of that with that Rutgers where it's like, you don't have, in my opinion, you don't have the same funds that, it's really hard to go play Ohio State in this day and age. Like, and when you're in the bottom of the barrel, like same thing with like, I think one of the best coaches in the Big Ten, in my opinion, is Minnesota. Like how this guy wins 8 games with a quarter of their resources is pretty unbelievable.
I agree with you. Before we go to Minnesota, though, I want to get back to USC for a minute because they are like almost everybody's playoff darling for some reason. Like they're kind of a dark horse. What do you think the record's going to be this year? Because I'm just not seeing it with them.
I'm not either. I think we've been talking about recruiting classes and all this talent for 3 years now. And it's the same story over and over. Their special teams are awful. I mean, they've let the 2 kickoff returns against Notre Dame when those were, that changed the game. They were in the game. And then at Oregon last year, the same thing happened on that punt. If, it was a tied game at that point and the game went downhill right after that. You can't let that happen. And still the ability to tackle is a huge issue. I mean, at the end of the TCU game last year, I mean, they had 4 guys tackle the guy in overtime and everybody missed the tackle. I mean, just simple wrapping up and simple, fundamental football plays. It just seems like they just make mistake after mistake after mistake. And years can you keep saying, it's going to be, it's next year, it's this. And it's just almost, the same book, different chapter.
And the main problem with that, exactly like you said, is on the defense. And it's not a USC issue, it's a Lincoln Riley issue. Because we've seen it at USC for 3 or 4 years now, and we saw it at Oklahoma. That Oklahoma team should have beat Georgia in that playoff game, but the defense couldn't stop air, and everything went through. That was Lincoln Riley's best shot to win a national championship in his career. He's sure as hell not going to win one at USC, but I don't think he wins one anywhere. And this year, I think USC falls to 8-4.
Yeah, I mean, and I just think is like even that Notre Dame play, the 4th and inches when he, he's running a play action. What you can on 4th and inches, just you like run a quarterback sneak. I mean, just like he just outsmarts himself, like, and it's almost like he just like I don't know, and it's almost that he overthinks things, and it's just I just think USC is not built for the Big Ten, like they're not. I mean. And I made a tweet about Utah and how they dominated USC and they physically dominated. You went to a conference with 15 other Utahs, right?
Exactly.
That dominate in the trenches, and you have to win in the trenches. You cannot just be in a shootout in the Big Ten. It's not going to work. And you saw it with Rich Rodriguez at Michigan. Running the spread offense in the Big Ten does not work, in my opinion, but it's like Ohio State even. Ohio State does run that, but at the same time, they win up front on both sides of the football. So USC doesn't do that. And I just think it all depends on how they, if they can run the football and if they can stop the run this year, and then special teams. Those are my three things, and I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right what you said about them coming to the Big Ten, where they struggled with Utah, and now you come play 15 other Utahs. Everyone kind of plays like a very physical upfront game in the Big Ten, and they don't like they're weak on the line. Um, but going on, you were talking about PJ Fleck at Minnesota.
Mhm.
I'm notoriously a little hard on Fleck, but he has been consistently putting out good football teams, and they have one of the best players in the country, in Anthony Smith, on their defense. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about Minnesota this season.
John, you know how much I love PJ Fleck. He is my absolute favorite coach in college football. He's someone that I would want to play for. He's someone that if I had kids, I would want them to play for. This year, I think Minnesota is kind of a wild card. I think they're going to be good on defense, but I think the key for them is Drake Lindsey at quarterback, and if he can produce, and if he can, you can call me crazy for this, but I can see a path to 10 wins for Minnesota this year. That's not what I'm saying is going to happen, but I'm saying don't rule it out. They're good enough this year where they can surprise a lot of people.
I mean, and look at this schedule. I mean, it's really really nice, to be honest. I mean you got Indiana, and then Penn State is going to be good, but you never know, like how Penn State is. And then I would say like Washington's going to be pretty good, but yeah, if you win a couple of these, you never know.
They just have to get over that Iowa hump, which they just can't seem to do. I know they won a couple of years ago. I think it was at Iowa when Iowa was ranked, but they have to get past Iowa.
You're
Yeah,
talking about the schedule. I think it really lines up nicely for them, like you said. I mean, they have an SEC program in week 2, but it's Mississippi State, which is they're not very good.
They'll
So
beat Mississippi State.
yeah, no,
man.
they will. I think I see 3 or 4 losses on this schedule, maybe. Like,
Yeah, why don't you ask ASU that one?
I have them going 7-5. I feel like they're going to lose a game that they probably shouldn't, just because that seems to happen. But
Yeah.
then they'll win their bowl. They'll get to their typical 8 wins, and we'll just continue to go about our business.
I just feel like with the resources and everything that PJ Fleck does and preaches, and it's just a high energy guy, and how they develop and do everything. I just think it's unbelievable. And in my opinion, like going back to the USC, like when you hear Lincoln Riley talk, like he doesn't fit California. Like he's a very soft spoken. Like USC is an arrogant like universe. They think they're better than everybody. That's kind of how they're built, and that's how Pete Carroll was. That was kind of like, we're gonna go beat everyone by 50, and we're gonna physically dominate. Like if you see Lincoln Riley next year get let go, like PJ Fleck would be a great hire for USC. Like he's very like I just think he would really fit well at USC, in my opinion.
wow, yeah, I think he could. I mean, if we're talking about Lincoln Riley being out maybe at the end of next year, I could definitely see Fleck. You know, anyone from the Greg Schiano coaching tree would be a good hire, in my opinion.
As long as it's not Greg Schiano himself. You mentioned Anthony Smith on the defensive line for Minnesota. I'm sorry about that, by the way, John. No, I'm not. You mentioned Anthony Smith on that defensive line. He's going to be good, but watch out for TJ Bush, transfer from Cal as well. He's a guy that I think is going to benefit a lot from Smith potentially being blocked by 2 linemen. He's someone that I can see sneaking up to maybe 9 or 10 sacks this year.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that name. Let's go talk about my favorite coach, since you want to talk bad about him. I have Rutgers at 6 wins this year. We do have 2 NFL prospects in KJ Duff and Antoine Raymond, but the quarterback, we're probably going to start a first-time starter at quarterback. Um, I don't know. It's going to be a tough year. If we make a bowl game, I'll be pretty happy, but I'm starting to wonder if Greg Schiano if all we're going to be is the team that wins 6 games.
UMass is going to pull off the impossible.
No, I have tickets to that game. Please no.
UMass might put their hockey team out there.
Yeah, no, that'll be a very sad Thursday night in Piscataway for me. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I'm really interested to see the Boston College game. Where does that go for Rutgers? I think that could be a key determining factor in how well the rest of the season is going to go. I have them at 5-7, which is what they went last year. I can't see them being much better. I don't see anywhere that they improved from last season.
Oh, we lost Ian Strong to Cal, our second best receiver, but I feel like we did upgrade. Some of the position coaches are going to be better, and quarterback we're definitely going to be probably worse. The Boston College game is interesting though because if it's not a first-time starter, it'll be Boston College quarterback Dylan Lonergan, who's there last year. So that game could be one to set circle on the schedule.
You can't try to sell me on Rutgers getting better and then finish off with our quarterback might be worse.
But the thing is for me is these 3 games I think could each get someone fired. The BC for how bad they were last year, and then you got Rutgers playing BC, and then whoever wins the Rutgers Maryland game, I think one person will still have a job, and the other person might not have a job. Those 3, like I think those games are really, really big for everybody's job, like all 3 coaches. Or 3 coaches, just because of it's just make or break. So those games I think are really, really important for everybody. But I don't really know. You're a Rutgers guy, so I don't know how the rest of Rutgers thinks of and portrays their program and how Greg Schiano is. Is he really on the hot seat this year?
Okay, so honestly, no, because last year, up until last year, Rutgers did not have an NIL collective for football. So, which is so far behind. I mean, we're living in the Stone Ages. Now we
Yeah,
have a new AD and everything. They're using like taxpayer money. Like I think it's like $5 million of taxpayer money that was sent because Rutgers is a state school, so they
yeah,
used that for NIL this year. So like now things are like I'm gonna use James Franklin's favorite word, but everyone is what was the word he says? Oh, aligned. Yeah, alignment. Everyone's aligned with NIL now, so the program could take steps forward. I know they paid KJ Duff around $1 million to stay this year as a receiver, so um, I mean, I think people are going to give Shiano a little more time than people in the program because they know he was working with, like you said, some of these programs are working with way less resources than the Ohio States and Oregons.
yeah.
KJ Duff must really believe in the vision of Rutgers too, because I think he could have got a lot more than $1 million from an SEC school. So I'm not sure what exactly made him stay there, whether it was his belief in Greg Schiano or he just likes where the program's going. Maybe it was the stability and complacency. I don't know, but I'm very surprised that he's still there.
So he did an interview like last week actually, where he said that he actually considered entering the transfer portal. He went to like meet with the coaching staff, and they told him like do what you want, but remember we believed in you or something like that because they were his first offer before he was like a 4-star receiver out of high school.
Their selling point was like, hey, do you want to come play for me for half a season?
Oh,
No,
all right.
I think it's though if you're like a really draftable guy, right? And you know you're going to play, and you know you're going to start, you know you're going to be the guy. There's something said for that, and I think we don't live in a society where that really happens anymore. But it's like if Hassan Reddick left Temple, back in the day, and there was a transfer portal, maybe he goes to Ohio State and doesn't play, and then he doesn't become a top 10 pick, right? And I think is a lot of people think that necessarily just because a lot of guys are going to these dream teams and they're actually hurting their careers and for the next level. So I think in a lot of ways this is actually a good decision for him.
Yeah, another good example you could use is Jaden Ott. He was the guy at Cal being talked about as a Heisman, like maybe a
Yeah,
Heisman dark horse. Then he goes to Oklahoma and he has 20 carries on the year.
yeah, a lot of guys are doing that. It's all over, and it's like they're really hurting their careers.
Because
And
so many guys are so short sighted and they just look at the now. I can get $1 million now, not realizing that, hey, you know what? If I struggle for a little bit now, I can turn that million that I would have into 20 million over the next 3 years.
And I think Cam Newton talks really about that really well. He's like, NIL was put in place not so kids could be gazillionaires. It was so that you could pay to, so that you could get some food, and make money off of jerseys, not just, offer $10 million and just, so you can come here and play. So I think is like we lost what NIL was. It was to sell Reggie Bush's jerseys, what the school was making off of him. and stuff like that. And that's what it really was put in place for.
Yeah, that's a good point. Moving on, I know Sonny, you wanted to talk about this team. We're talking about Illinois. So you said you had a take for this. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, and I kind of talked about it a little bit when we had Phil Steele on the pod the other day, which if you have not listened to that, I highly suggest it. Phil was a great guest. I am just unreasonably high on Illinois this year. I absolutely love them. I love the way the schedule sets up. Call me crazy. I see 10 wins this year. Their schedule, it starts out non-conference, super soft. UAB, Duke, who I know they're the defending ACC champions. That's great, but they're significantly weaker in Southern Illinois. They go to Ohio State. I don't think any of us think they're going to win that, right?
No.
And then they got Purdue and Michigan State. 2 easy winnable games for them. Against Oregon at home should be a loss. I could see an upset coming, but I don't think there will be. And then they finish out Maryland, Nebraska, UCLA, Iowa, and Northwestern. This is not exactly a gauntlet of a schedule. And I think the X factor here is Caden Hauser, who is a transfer quarterback from East Carolina. I said with Phil Steele that I think that he has a much higher ceiling than Luke Altmaier did. So while everybody was looking last year at Illinois as a potential dark horse playoff team, I think we were actually a little bit early, and it's this year. And I know they're going to go through a little bit of transition with both the offensive and defensive lines. But when it comes to Brett Bielema coach teams, if an offensive and defensive line is an issue at the start of the year, you can be assured that by the end of the year, it's not going to be an issue anymore. This is going to be a strong physical team that's going to have a good passing attack. They're going to be able to run the ball like every Brett Bielema team does. This is a 10-win team and a legit playoff dark horse.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I know a lot of that staff because they were at Temple with us. I mean, they're just so good at developing. I mean, you even saw in the Super Bowl with that DB from that plays for Seattle, the whole playoffs just took over everything. And then I just think right now is one of the best DBs all in college football is Xavier Scott. I mean, the guy's a freaking animal. Does it in the run game, does it all over. And they got one of the best defensive minds in college football right now. And I just think do they have the talent? It's always with Brett Bielema. They just, they can't get enough in the passing game. Can they get enough in the passing game, to be successful? And that's and just explosive plays.
Yeah,
I think they'll have it this year.
Yeah, and Bielema teams they're always hard to play against. His offensive lines are always good. His defensive lines are always good. But like you said, if they can get the explosive plays and figure out that part of the game, there's no reason they shouldn't be a dark horse playoff team.
I mean, and who wouldn't want to see that? I would.
I would love to see him. I don't know if you guys remember the bowl game where he had Shane Beamer throwing a tantrum on the sidelines because he he exploited some rule. I forgot what it was. I don't remember the exact scenario, but he was laughing at him while he was losing his mind on the sideline. He knows the rule. He's a really good coach.
Yeah, and Ben, you brought up the talent, and that's for me always the thing with the Brett Bielema team. Are they really the most talented team? No, but for some reason he gets the most out of them. Look at some of those Wisconsin teams he had. He had some elite running backs, yeah. Other than the running backs and, J.J. Watt, who are some of the other superstars that came from Wisconsin? Russell Wilson, yeah. Who were his quarterbacks at that point though? You had Scott Tolzien. Who else? This year he's got a legit guy that can throw the ball. Hauser can run the ball as well. It's a different feeling for Illinois this year.
Yeah, I mean the best player to ever play for him was a walk-on. I mean that's pretty wild to think about.
A 2-star tight end, not just not just a guy that's been honing his craft at defensive end for years. A 2-star tight end that turned into an NFL Hall of Famer.
If you think the craziest thing about that, maybe one of the top best receivers to play the game of football in J.J. Watt, if J.J. Watt didn't transfer, would have been on that Central Michigan team. Do you guys know who that is?
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mr. Big Chest.
That would have been crazy in some action.
Yeah.
That would have been unfair. Moving on to another team that has an exciting transfer in Wisconsin. Ben, I know you have connections to him. Wisconsin, They have a new quarterback, Colton Joseph. I was watching his highlights the other night after we talked about him. This kid can play football. This is going to be a much improved year for Wisconsin.
I think so. I think that this is I think they could give Notre Dame a game. Like, I really do, because
Wow.
if you think of the Cincinnati, just back to the Cincinnati days when I was at Temple, uh, Wisconsin's head coach and Notre Dame's head coach Notre Dame's was his defensive coordinator. So, and all the way back to their Ohio State days, they really know each other really, really, really well. And, I think is that Wisconsin just has not had a quarterback like Colton Joseph, and just the injuries. I know that's an excuse, but it's been probably the worst injured prone team in college football the last few years. And their schedule has been death the last few years too. And I think this schedule really works out for them really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, this schedule, the only really tough games I see. I mean, Notre Dame, obviously, week one is going to be a tough game, but you think they'll give them a game. I think Penn State is going to be tough, and then really Iowa, USC. I mean, Minnesota to end the year, but you at least have them at home, so the schedule lines up really nicely for Wisconsin.
Yeah, you play USC at home, you're probably going to have it's probably going to be a night game. So I mean, what is there not to, and Colton Joseph, he can use his legs, and he can, use his arm, and he does it really well. He reminds me a lot of what's his name? The Cincinnati quarterback when they went to the playoff. What's his name? Ritter?
Ritter, yeah,
Desmond Ritter.
A lot like Desmond Ritter, where, very, he's from my hometown of Newport Beach, California, Orange County, and he got no offers out of high school, and then went to not really a lot, and he went to where did he go? Georgia State? No, Georgia Southern. One of those. I don't.
Oh, was it ODU, right?
Oh, ODU. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I mean, he's really a good player, and I think Wisconsin fans will really, really enjoy watching him play.
I have Wisconsin improving also, but where do you see their win total? Like, how many wins do they have to have for it to be considered a success? And not only that, for Luke Fickell to save his job.
I think
I have 8 wins.
9 or 8.
I have been 8 wins. I think
Wow.
He saves his job. I think it's just 8 wins.
Yeah, 8 wins.
I think 8 wins is their absolute ceiling this year.
Really?
What? Who do you think they're going to lose? Like Notre Dame, say you're 0-1, then then they're going to go 2-1 into Penn State. He has to win one big game, and I don't care if that's Penn State, USC, or Notre Dame. Out of those 3, he has to go 1-2, in my opinion.
I don't think he wins any of those. I have them going 6-6 this year.
I think even 6-6, I think it would probably save his job.
You think 6-6 would save it? I don't know. In today's world, I don't see that happening. Like, I just don't. Like, I just think everybody would be especially in that athletic department right now, with the success of basketball and how women's and men's hockey has been doing recently again. Like, I just think football is, at the end of the day, it's a hockey state, but at the end of the day, football in recent history has been really, really good, and it has not been in the last 3 years. I don't think the Badger faithful are okay with this.
I agree with that.
So moving on from Wisconsin, I want to talk about a team that we've talked about a few times in passing with these other schedules. Let's talk about Penn State and Matt Campbell's first year. Their schedule is really easy, man. I mean, they have the 5th easiest schedule in the Power 5.
That's the 2026, 2027, I think.
Yeah, Penn State should be much improved this year. I think they go 9-3, and a lot of it is going to be because of their schedule. I think Rocco Beck is a really good quarterback. I'm not sure how well Iowa State transfers into the Big Ten, because it seems like he brought most of his team with him. But that schedule sets up nicely for a good debut for Matt Campbell.
September 12th, baby. Upset happening at the link.
I don't know about that one. I think that'd be, the uproar would be ridiculous for Matt Campbell if that happened.
I think you're a week early when Buffalo gets him the next week.
Oh, whoa! What is going on here? Just picking everyone to beat them.
Hey, you know what? In 2019, we beat Georgia Tech, we beat Maryland, and we lost to freaking Buffalo. It was, I think, the lowest point of our of like we beat Memphis, we beat like everybody basically, and we lost to Buffalo. So
Horns up.
you never ever count out Buffalo, man.
Horns up.
Yeah. So one thing about Penn State, I mean, they have Kobe Howard at receiver. Him and Rocco Beck should be pretty good. I'm just excited to see what this offense looks like without Andy Kotelnicki. I almost went a little explicit there. But Andy Kotelnicki with the offense last year, all the motion and the nonsense, like I hated it. He was a. I don't think he's a good offensive coordinator. So I think the coaching staff change will do well for the rest of the roster that stayed. And they have Tony Rojas, one of the best linebackers in college football, in the middle of that defense. So, and the schedule it's very easy, man.
But the thing is about coach, if you've watched Iowa State, they always find a way to lose to teams they should not lose to. And they start out really, really hot. And when it hits mid-season, they lose to someone they should not. Like last year, weren't they like 6-0 or 7-0? Like, and they lost it like 3 in a row or 4 in a row.
I've actually already pinpointed that loss.
So I think it's like, how can Matt Campbell get over that hump? As a coach, and I think he's a phenomenal coach. I'm not putting him down at all, but it seems that it really seemed to happen like that at Iowa State, where it's like we're all talking about, Iowa State could make the playoff this year, and somehow they would find a way to lose to somebody.
I've already found that loss on their schedule. It is October 3rd when they go to Northwestern.
You think I won't?
Something about that game is just telling me Northwestern is going to show up with energy. It's the first game at the new Ryan Stadium. I think it's going to be a little bit of a shock for Penn State, and I think Northwestern pulls the upset.
No, I'm going to go with the Huskies.
Oh, yes, but okay, I can see that, but I also don't really think that would be a major upset.
No, I guess not. I mean, just watch. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to the UW is like the second loudest stadium ever recorded in the history of college football. It's really, really loud. It's really, really, it's a hostile environment for sure. And I think even it's louder than Penn State for if you do the decimals. And actually the reasoning is the loudest college football stadiums are actually near a water, because scientifically the sound goes off of I don't know, like scientifically, which is pretty interesting. So that's why Tennessee and Washington are like the two loudest ever recorded.
I had no idea that was a thing, but I mean,
Yeah.
the Sailgate, it always seems pretty loud there. So
Yeah.
moving on, let's talk about Washington since we're there. They had their quarterback almost leave. I have question marks about it. I mean, Damon Williams, he has that talent, but I just don't know how you can come back to a locker room after that. So I'm iffy on Washington. I'm curious what you guys think, and then maybe I'll form an opinion.
Okay, we're both hockey fans, and I'm a big Ducks fan. So, and I hate the Flyers for doing what they did with Leo Carlsson. But do you blame Leo Carlsson, one of the best hockey players in the NHL, for accepting that offer sheet? Right? He got paid $18 million, and the Ducks had to match it. Do you think that's any different than what happened at Washington? I think it's a business. He got paid $2 million more. Any kid would take that. So I think at the end of the day, he went back, and Coach Fish said he won the locker room back, and it's kind of a business. So I think I think a lot of kids, and even when you see kids today on like Instagram or Twitter, they're like, oh, go get paid. Like 10 years ago, that would never have happened. They would have been like, you know what, this guy's leaving our team. F him. Today, I just think it's a different society, kind of everybody's boys. Like, I think it's different. I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as people think.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I said, I mean, I saw that he said he won the locker room back too, but if you remember, he announced he was leaving while the rest of the team was at like a funeral for
Oh,
like.
yeah.
So I just feel like it's hard to go back to a locker room after that. I know it did head to the media, but you're not going to be like, yeah, this guy sucks. He came back, but like, people are still unhappy with him.
I think it's going to be the people that are going to be pissed at him are going to be. I think he could maybe get booed. by like the fans, like by some fans. I think but I don't really think that it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Sonny?
I think it's a little bit different than the Leo Carlson situation. Carlson went back to Anaheim because Anaheim matched his offer and he really had no choice. I think Williams going back to
He had to
Wisconsin.
because they were going to sue him. The same thing happened.
Exactly, but Carlson wouldn't have got sued by Anaheim. He went back because he had to because they matched the offer. It's not like Carlson wanted to leave. Williams wanted to leave Washington, obviously,
I guess
otherwise he would have never entered the transfer portal.
True.
Leo Carlson didn't choose to enter free agency. He was an RFA. That was the situation he put in. He made a business decision.
But
Williams also made a business decision, and he chose to leave and then had to come back.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I think.
Comparison. It's pretty good though. It's.
I mean, it's not perfect, but I'm just saying. I just think it's like something. So you think it? So you're with John that basically you think it is still a rift a little bit.
I don't know if it's a rift, but it's definitely something where there's at least a group of guys in that locker room who bleed and sweat and cry every day over that program that just watched their star quarterback walk out voluntarily and then had to come back because of a lawsuit. Some of the guys there are just like, you know what, dude, screw you. Yes, you're going to help us win, but we are going to win in spite of you, not because of you.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All right,
so maybe in a weird way, it makes them stronger.
Yeah, I could see that too.
True. Moving on to one of my
best
favorite
offensive team in the country,
Iowa.
I mean, they're going to be they're going to be 8-4, like 7-5, 8-4 continuously. Like that's just like they're going to find to beat somebody and they're going to find to lose to somebody, and I feel like it's going to be the same thing, like that they always find a way to do. Just great front seven. I think in a lot of ways comparable to like Illinois, like Brett Bielema, who went to Iowa, like a very comparable Minnesota, very comparable. Those are like three, in my opinion, are all in the same boat. They just can't get over that hump.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get with Iowa. They're going to be strong. They're going to be physical. They're going to play one of the most boring football games you will see all season because it happens every year. But they're reliable and they're dependable. You know what you're going to get, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean they're predictable. In a way, they are. They're going to run the ball down your throats, but they're also going to beat you down while they do it. And by the end of it, you're looking up at the clock. It's only been a 60-minute game, but you feel like you've been at war for a week, and it's 20-16 Iowa wins.
Who's their quarterback this year? I don't even know that.
That's the thing. They haven't even named what they have like a quarterback battle. They haven't even like mentioned anything about it, so it's really hard to project.
I think it's going to be Hank Brown, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's been taking first-team reps, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, but I mean, still, like we don't know. It's not for certain yet. They haven't definitely said he's the guy.
No, but if you're routinely taking first-team reps this late in August or this late into the off season, you got to think he's the guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely think so.
I just think who do they play to start? NIU.
Yeah, it's NIU.
Yeah, but it's Iowa. They wouldn't go with two quarterbacks. They just wouldn't. I feel like they would not have a two quarterback.
Kirk Ferentz would not be having a two quarterback system.
No. Just like to see. I mean, and it depends on maybe the first game doesn't go well or two games, where maybe he's I think is the biggest thing for Iowa is, with Kirk Ferentz is you cannot turn the ball over. And if you do that, you're not going to play for Kirk Ferentz. Like you're going to be on the bench. And that's the big thing in the first 3 weeks, see how they do. But, you don't know with Iowa State, how is Iowa State going to be, because they got a new coach and their whole team left. So you don't know that situation. It's just really hard to predict. In this day and age in college football, UNI is probably not going to, run the table against Iowa and go in there and have an upset like they did in the early 2000s every year.
I also feel like this is the first time we're going to watch Iowa and Iowa State play where you can definitively say one team is not going to win, right? Like
Remember,
there's no way Iowa State wins.
remember when it was like 6-3, or it was like 3-0, where they both like literally like they literally could not score a touchdown. It was like three. There was like I think it was like 2014 when it was like 6-3, and they both had like 50 turnovers. It was just like the worst like game that you've ever watched of football. It was pretty funny, and I just think that could be one of that game, this year where it's like a 9-6 game.
Iowa's always good for at least one of those games a year.
Yeah, well, the thing is, that's the thing. Kurt Friend's teams, they drag you into those games. They love a game where there's no touchdowns going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So I don't want to go too long. So let's bounce around a little quick here. Let's talk. One team I want to talk about a little in depth here is UCLA, because I think they're going to be very improved. Chesney is one of the best coaching hires of the cycle. I think this is easily a bowl game team. Probably at 7 wins for me, to be honest.
I think the game to watch for them, were the two games that are going to be really the best of the whole season, are not even in Big Ten play. I think the Cal and then San Diego State game both will be really good for how good San Diego State was last year. I mean, I think they won 10 games. And I know it's the Mountain West, but I went to a few. I live in San Diego, so I went to a few SDSU games, and they were very, very impressive. And so, I mean, I think that will be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this game versus Cal, I mean, Taj Lupoy versus Chesney, this is going to be a great matchup. The quarterbacks, Nico Amalava versus JKS. I mean, this is a game I have circled. I called it appointment television the other day on the timeline. I'm very excited for this football game.
And isn't it going to be like a 10:30 kickoff as well, Eastern time?
Well, after dark, baby's back.
I love
No one
it.
has anything else to do besides watch that game at 10 p.m.
It's going to be a good game, and I'm glad, Ben, that you brought up the San Diego State game. They're another team that's extremely physical, so it's going to be a good, toughness game. You head into conference play the following week, but if UCLA starts 2-0, you can't help but feel really good about where this team is heading.
I mean, San Diego State beat Cal like 35-0 last year. So
that was one of the more shocking games of the year.
Yeah, so I mean, San Diego State is a really good, team, and back to the Wisconsin situation. If Wisconsin doesn't have a good year, I think San Diego State's coach could be the next head coach at Wisconsin. I'm predicting that if it doesn't go well, because he played at Wisconsin. Him, or I think New Mexico's head coach, because he also played at Wisconsin.
JJ Snack, yeah.
I think Sean Lewis is a little bit more of a fit because he has the coaching background in the MAC country as well, which, as we all know, shares a lot of Big Ten territory.
Exactly.
So now moving on to Ohio State. I mean, this schedule, that game versus Texas is going to be tough. I think they're easily a playoff team. They have the best player in the country, Jemiah Smith, him and Julian Sayin. This is, I mean, anyone else disagree? This is a easy playoff team.
12-0.
12. I know that's.
I think these people down in Austin are, out to lunch a little bit. We've said year after year that this guy is the quarterback and this guy is, and Sark's the best coach. And you see my tweets, and I just haven't seen it, and he needs to, they have to be able to run the football. And I think Ohio State is going to be a tough team to run the football against. And I think Ohio State could go into Austin and win by 10.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into my thoughts on Texas until we do the SEC, but those fans are in for a really, really rude awakening week 2.
They still cannot run the ball, and I just think Ohio State really can run the ball, and I just think as Julian Sayin is the most accurate passer. And I think people say things about Julian Sayin like, oh, he doesn't care. I saw some headlines about that, but he's from Carlsbad. I went to, which is here in San Diego. And I'm from Huntington Beach, which is in Orange County, but that's kind of our culture. We're very laid back people. We're not very that's how Californians, very beach culture. That's kind of how it is. We're not yeah, let's go. I think we're very laid back kind of people. So I think that changed for me until I lived in Philly, But that's kind of, so I think a lot of people give negative things towards Julian Sane when, that's just kind of how he is as a person. Like, that's our culture.
And saying Julian Sane doesn't care, why does that have to be a bad thing? I mean, if you think about it, look back on other quarterbacks who apparently didn't care. Jameis Winston, what did he do? He won the Heisman, he won a national title. Johnny Manziel, what did he do? He won the Heisman, beat Bama in the biggest moment in A&M football in 50 years. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, I think you could probably say the opposite about Manning, is that he cares too much and he presses too much, and he doesn't play well in the big moment. Like last year, I mean, he couldn't even complete pass against Ohio State last year. He really struggled.
One thing I want to talk about with Ohio State too, I think people don't talk about enough, is last year the big question mark was, they're bringing in Matt Patricia. How is he going to be on defense? Last year that defense was amazing under him, and I think he said he really enjoys coaching in college and being able to control the personnel more than he was able to in the NFL. So, I mean, I think that's one of the big problems. I mean, the big success that they have is they have Ryan Day, who's an offensive guru, and then they have Matt Patricia, who he can coach defense.
How funny would that be if Belichick got fired and they hired Matt Patricia?
That would be kind of funny. But yeah, no, I think Matt Patricia, he translated very well to the college game, and that Ohio State defense really benefited from having him there.
Here's a random trivia question for you. When is the last time Ohio State went an entire season start to finish without being ranked?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh, that's kind of
not my lifetime.
Does that count? Does that count the season where they had the NCAA stuff?
Was that 2011 or 2012?
Yeah, because they weren't. Yes, that's it. That's for sure the last time they weren't ranked, because
they were ranked in that season. They were ranked in that season. You have to go all the way back to 1967. The last time Ohio State went start to finish unranked.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Think about how many generations of college football players have gone through where Ohio State has stayed that consistent for that long. There's been ups and downs. There's been national championships. There might be another national championship this year. But that is a model program for consistency.
But another thing is, like, if you look at Penn State, how many times, like, everybody wants to talk about Joe Paterno. Joe Paterno won twice, I think, in the horseshoe in 40 years.
I think he has as many national championships as he does wins at Ohio State.
Yeah.
That's an insane stat, actually.
It's really crazy when you think about it.
Even winning the shoe. Yeah, I tweeted the other day, actually, that I can't remember a time in my lifetime where you looked at Ohio State. They're the only program where I could look at them and be like, they maybe aren't going to be good this season. It's never happened.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, because it's like, if you look at the Pac-12 schools, right? Look at or the old Pac-12 schools like Oregon, USC. Like when Oregon had what's his name, the guy who after Chip Kelly left, and then the guy who works for Fox, the offensive coordinator, he got fired. They hired the guy from from Florida, the guy who left for Florida State. What's his name? Taggart. Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart was probably 6-6, right, in those years when he had all that talent. Or USC had some down years, even with Lane Kiffin. They weren't ranked by the end of the season. So that's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah. So moving on to a team that also could be in natty contention. I see a lot of people saying maybe a repeat. I don't see it, but they did just get a big addition. Those guys were granted the 5th year because of the court ruling this year, and their best defensive lineman just rejoined them today from last year, Stephen Daly. So he led the country in tackle for losses last year, and he rejoins Indiana.
I absolutely cannot get used to Indiana being good. Like, seeing them at the Big Ten at the top of the rankings is just wild to me. My entire college football fandom, like, major success for Indiana football has been 7-6.
Less than 7-6. That was a good year. That was a good year.
That's true. That's true.
Who would have ever thought Purdue would be the basketball school and Indiana would be the football school?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good Indiana team, I think.
I think, as I said this 2 years ago when Ohio State beat Indiana, and then I said Indiana lost that game because of special teams. They had a muff punt, right, where at the end of the half where the kicker dropped it, and then they had another punt return. And last year, special teams was their strong suit. They won a national championship because of that. They blocked a kick. Remember at Illinois, they blocked the punt, and the game was over, like a huge blowout when they played at Illinois last year. So their special teams were really, really good last year and a top team. And just defensively, they were really, really good. But the one player that I think they're going to be missing is that defensive back. So their secondary, I think, it has some question marks.
I'm really excited to see Josh Hoover this year because a lot of people outside of Big 12 country don't realize how good he is. And it's certainly not going to be a smooth, perfect transition from Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza did a lot of things that a lot of other quarterbacks can't do. But Hoover brings a really special skill set as well. There's not going to be a ton of drop-off this year, if any.
I mean, but at least they have a really hard out-of-conference schedule.
It's a murderer's row this year.
Yeah.
Speaking of murderer's row, here's another good one for you that you'll be surprised by. The last 3 teams to beat Indiana: Notre Dame in the playoff last year, Ohio State before that. Who was the third?
Well, Ohio State beat them twice.
I don't know.
Purdue.
Oh.
They were in the Big Ten.
Purdue was one of the last 3 teams to beat Indiana.
I want to say, like, everyone says they're the laughingstock of it, but what Coach did at UNLV, I guess Purdue will be the next team we talk about, is like you don't really know, like, from year to year, maybe they are a lot better, and I mean, I don't know their schedule. Here it will be, but like if they can just make some, win 4 or 5 games, that's like winning a national championship. I'm kidding, but that's like a really good year. Like, in my opinion, if they can win 3 or 4 games, or upset one team, like, I think maybe from last year, Wisconsin maybe takes a step in belief, and because they beat Washington, right, at home, like that's like now the people in that locker room, like, oh, we finally found how to win a close game, and that really goes really far, in my opinion. And I think is like if Purdue can win, 3 or 4 games and finds a way to shock someone, you never know.
This might be a little bit of a hot take for you, but I look at this Purdue schedule and I am very much struggling to find more than 1 win.
I know. That's why I said if they win 2 or 3 games, that's a win, in my opinion. Like, and I think in today's world, if you don't win, right, no alumni is going to give you any money. Like Arizona 2 years ago, Coach Brennan, they didn't give him hoot. They all wanted him fired after that. Everybody came back and we had no offensive line or defensive line. Everyone said, oh, let's fire him. And after last year, now we're getting, people are believing and putting money into the program, the alumni. And I think it goes a long way. If people can see some promise, maybe down the line in near the future, they'll put money into Purdue football.
It's going to take a lot more, I think, than 4 wins for any money to be coming into Purdue football, especially with how hot basketball is right now. There's only so many dollars, and this goes for every program out there. There are only so many dollars to go around. And at a school like Purdue, if basketball is dominating, they're going to get majority of the money.
Do you think Indiana State could beat Purdue?
Yes.
Wow.
Could they? Yes. Will they? I don't think so. But could they? Yes, absolutely.
I think we have 3 more teams to talk about here.
Nebraska, Northwestern, and then
Nebraska, Northwestern, and the Michigans. I guess we'll do the Michigans. We'll start with Michigan because I think there's a lot to be said about the disaster they've been through lately.
Did we skip Oregon?
Oh, yeah, we did Oregon too. Yeah.
And what? Oh, we did Washington. All right.
Yeah, we did Washington. I can cut this out. I can cut this part out.
No, but it's fine because it's going to be longer anyways because I mean it's not our fault that they have 50 teams in their conference.
True. All right, so we're on to Michigan here. I mean, they've had quite the roller coaster offseason. Coach Sharon Moore, that was a disaster. Now Ward Manuel's leaving at the end of the year because he covered up the disaster. I mean, this program, I think it's going to be hard for them to have a great season. One, their schedule's kind of hard. I mean, after October on is pretty rough for them. And just there's a lot of distractions around this program too. I feel like, but they have
I
a kind
see
of good run.
nine. I see 9 wins that I am not at all confident about.
9 games or 9 wins.
I think they win 9 games this year, but
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
at all confident about this.
I don't know. I think they have a real quarterback problem.
I agree.
I think that he cannot throw the ball. And I think he's a Navy quarter. Like I think he could play any other position. Like I think you could compare him to like a Terrell Pryor, but a lot worse version of it. Like a really great athlete that can play anywhere on the field, or maybe even like a Khalil Tate with less athleticism. Just like everybody's gonna put, everyone in the box and make him throw it. And can he throw the ball? And he hasn't been able to the last season in his freshman year. I think Michigan next year could make a quarterback change.
Are we in agreement that they're going to get absolutely steamrolled by Oklahoma?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma's going to beat them. Yeah.
I don't know because when you watch coach at Utah, I just think is like he finds a way to beat the big guy. Like that staff is really, really good at, and if you look at Utah never really had a good quarterback. Like who did Utah ever have? Like
Cam Rising is their best player.
Like Cam Rising is their best quarterback, maybe, or the guy before the I forget the quarterback. I mean, I guess you could say the best quarterback was 2007. Was what's his name who played for Kansas City? Who was pretty good.
Matt Castle?
No, the guy who played for San Francisco for years. What's his name?
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. He played with Reggie Bush in high school, by the way. And so those guys are like Utah always finds a way, in my opinion. And a lot of people are giving him a lot of bad press right now for saying, "Oh, I respect Ohio State" or whatever. But it's like at Michigan, you had basically they hired him because they wanted the good guy, and now everybody's mad that he's not speaking like very aggressively. But that's why they hired him, because he is the good, like nice, respectable person. So I think if he can win a few games, I think people in Michigan will.
And I think part of the reason that he beats the big guy is he doesn't write teams off. Like, he respects everyone. He treats them all the same, all the teams on the schedule. He doesn't write anyone off.
And Michigan has come to love being the villain, but they're the wrong kind of villain, right? Like they're the team that everybody hates now because they're doing all the wrong things off the field. The Sharon Moore things, sign stealing, now the Ward Manuel covering everything up. They want to be like a Nick Saban villain, where you're hated because you're so good, but you're respected. They're not there. People don't respect them as a program anymore, and slowly it's starting to become more than the athletic department. And I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think it's almost like Alabama or like a Southern team, or Ohio State. Like they're funny, unlikable, like their fans, right? Like it's almost like Philadelphia is a likable city. Like they're really, really funny to watch, their fans. Like Boston is nobody can stand Boston because they're just assholes and they're elitists. And Michigan's like that, exactly just not nice, and they look down on everybody. So I feel like that's also why people don't like Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is the Sharon Moore thing and the Connor Stallion thing just happen so close to each other that they've become so unlikable that I don't think anyone wants to see them do very well.
No, and that's the kind of thing that's going to take a lot of years to recover from.
But I think also just how successful they've been too, in all sports. They're just buying every single player. and they have all the money in the world. I think that also people do not like that for
True, they have a
them for
big
that
fan
reason
base.
too.
Um, all right, moving on to Oregon here. Now, this is I think I have Oregon. I had them in my national championship. I'm unsure about it though. I mean, Dante Moore. They have Coy Parrish coming in from Minnesota. Dan Lanning. They have a very talented team, but I'm curious what you guys think about this Oregon team.
I think it's like Dan Lanning. Everybody says he's the best, one of the best coaches in college football, and every big game he just has not been able to find a way. If it was Washington, when they're in the Pac-12 and they went for it 4 times instead of punting and kicking the ball. They beat Washington if they do that. And then he lost to, in the playoff, getting smoked year after year here. If he wants to be an elite coach, in my opinion, he has to win one of these games, and this is the year. And I think there's no more excuses. Going to beat Penn State, who lost to Northwestern and UCLA last year, is not a big win. Even playing at Wisconsin the last year, that was a game for the whole game. So I think is their schedule was really easy last year if you go look at it. So I think is like, can they get over that hump?
And last year, it appeared they finally did when they beat Penn State. And then we look back, and that win wasn't really impressive.
It was
Given the state of Penn State at the end of the year, it was almost disappointing that Oregon needed overtime to win.
not the end of the year, the 2 weeks after when they lost to UCLA and Northwestern.
That's true also.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lanning is good, but I mean, we really need to see it. I just think they have a major talent advantage over almost everyone on their schedule. So it'll be. I think they could probably. I mean, they're going to be a playoff team, right? We agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is yeah, but at the same time is like, can they? Can they? I think they have maybe the best front defensive line in college football. Them in Indiana.
Hmm.
So I mean, I just think is can Moore. Moore has to have a good year, and Moore cannot have a playoff like he had last year. I mean, against Indiana, that was that was just terrible mistakes. I mean, you cannot any person that's coached or played football knows that you cannot miss inside on an out like that on the first play of the game, and the game was over right after that. So, and everything went downhill. So I think is that he has to make plays that that are to necessarily just can't take his team out of it because they do have more talent than everybody else. So I think is can they make those easy plays where they're not making those mistakes?
Exactly, because the talent only gets you so far. And it seems like even going back to as early as like 2008, we've been talking about Oregon and how talented they are, and how far has that gotten them? They're always missing something. And a lot of it is on-field mistakes that have kind of cost them. Even back in the national championship game against Oregon, or against Auburn, there were some things that happened that shouldn't have. This year, I think Oregon's going to be good. I think 11-1 is probably where they'll fall, but I wouldn't put it past them for them to lose a game that we look at and we're like, how did that happen? Why did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think is USC is going to want to, as you said, like I think they're, that it's at USC. USC needs to get a big win too. And maybe that, I think maybe 10-2.
Here's the thing about that USC game, though, and John knows I'm big on this from doing previous shows. Oregon the week before plays Portland State at home on a Friday, so they have extra time to prepare. USC the week prior goes to Rutgers, so they're traveling cross country the week before. That could be another potential, like, all right, USC's a little bit more tired than they should. Maybe we see a little bit of a down game from the Trojans as well.
Yeah.
Or you could see Rutgers beating USC because
Oh yes, 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 yes.
they're looking forward to the next week.
You know, it
I
sounds
like that
crazy,
too.
but we've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like.
last time they went to the East Coast, didn't they lose to Maryland?
Yeah. All right. So moving on to Michigan State. another Big Ten team, and I think the Big Ten has a lot of these types of coaches where they're just known for playing hard, gritty football. I think Pat Fitzgerald it's gonna take some time at Michigan State, but I really love the hire for them, and I think he's gonna make them tough to play against at least. I mean, you can't just write them off anymore. Maybe this year because they're gonna take some time to get the talent in, but Pat Fitzgerald is gonna be a major upgrade for this program.
This year, you definitely can write them off.
I wish Michigan State played Purdue. That would be like 2009 Washington State, where they both like went 0-11 and like 1-10, and it was like the most like
the toilet bowl
epic game ever, where they were all like celebrating because they won a game. I think Washington was like 0-11, and Washington State was 1-10.
But that was the game that was referred to as the Crapple Cup.
Yeah, the Crapple Cup.
That's so funny. The Crapple Cup is so good.
But moving on, I think it's very interesting to me, this hire, because you just hired a coach from Oregon State that is that same kind of coach that Pat Fitzgerald is, where he built a program, didn't get high recruits. I know Oregon State did it differently, where he got more junior college guys, but kind of that, not getting high recruits stuff. And I think it's different at Michigan State, where they want to see those recruiting classes. Like they want you then. And is Pat Fitzgerald has never had a job where he had to recruit at a high level to please the fans. And I'm not a big, you know me, I'm not a big recruiting guy. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day. I think it matters if you win or lose games. But at the same time, I think it helps you not have so much pressure. Like if Lincoln Riley wasn't recruiting at the way at getting these high level guys, I don't think he's still at USC.
Yeah, that's probably true. I just feel like the Big Ten has a lot of these coaches like Whittingham, Fitzgerald, Brett at Illinois. I feel like they have a lot of the same type of coaches where they just want to be hard to play against, and I feel like they fit. This is like a Big Ten identity for this program again.
Yeah, I mean, but I think another question is like a lot of these guys, are they like, maybe they're from a different generation of coaches, and like, is the game different where they were successful, 5-7 years ago, and the game has really changed, exponentially, and can they adapt to that? Is Coach Fitzgerald going to? It's much different to coach at Northwestern when you're, getting high academic kind of kids versus coaching at Michigan State. It's a different athlete that you're going after. And that will be very interesting.
So a few things here on Michigan State. I feel like you can write them off this year. They're lacking the talent and they're lacking the foundation. That's not a knock on Pat Fitzgerald as a coach. It's just the way it is at Michigan State. First year, they underwent a lot of problems as well. As for coaches adapting, I think your perfect example of a coach failing to adapt is in the conference as well. Chip Kelly at Northwestern. He was the hottest name in coaching, even went to the NFL for a spell. It seems like he just is stuck in that 2010, 2011 offense. He doesn't have the edge he used to anymore. So if you're looking for an example of a coach that hasn't adapted, look no further than Northwestern's offensive coordinator.
But I think you have to see, I think I compared Chip Kelly to Lincoln Riley, where they were given programs. Like Mike Bellotti was already had Oregon really built. Like he didn't have to go take over and rebuild a culture. Both of those guys, Lincoln Riley, the same thing with Bob Stoops, and I think it's different when you actually have to go build a culture. I think it's the same thing with Sarkisian. Like Sarkisian didn't do well at Washington. Like he did okay. Like he went to USC, and I know he had other problems off the field, but he's never really. But now he's at Texas, and it's like he can't get over that. He has the most talent, and he still can't. He barely beat ASU, right? So I mean, those are just like. So I think there's a lot of coaches like that. It's not just Chip Kelly, and back to adapting. Anyways, I like it, since we're going to talk about Nebraska now. I mean, is the Coach Rule, and I love Coach Rule, but in this day and age, he didn't build programs with a transfer portal, and how he built programs was by developing low recruits, Hassan Reddick, walk on, PJ Walker is probably his best quarterback ever. Um, and now is like with the transfer portal, it's different, and it's almost like where he failed was in the NFL, and that's kind of what college football is turning into now. Like where you get guys, and it's almost it's more scouting than it is developing.
Mhm. Yeah, and we're talking about before about coaches that might get fired. I think this could be the last year of Nebraska and Matt Rule. Am I
Really,
crazy to say that?
I don't know.
I agree. I agree with you, John.
I mean, he's what? I mean, people talk about James Franklin being bad in the big game. He's like what? He was 1 in 25 against top 25 teams. Like, in the newsflash, the Big Ten's getting stronger. You're playing a lot of top 25 teams. You have to be able to win these games. Otherwise, they're only going to be a 6-7 win team every year.
We got to talk about the comments made by their old quarterback here.
Oh yeah,
When he
please read it.
said,
Please read it to us.
This is
uh,
fantastic, by the way.
so I think they're like back to a hockey reference again. I think the University
Oh,
of
you didn't read the
Nebraska
quote.
is like the win. Okay, here we go. There's not cornfields here. There's mountains and trees, and I love the nature. As far as football, it's different. With coaches and players, we have a lot more talent than we did at Nebraska. I don't say to knock on them, but I think everybody will know that. But then back to my point of the Winnipeg Jets. Like the Winnipeg Jets can't have nobody wants to play in Winnipeg. Like nobody wants to live in Winnipeg. And I think this day and age, like people don't want to live in Nebraska. Like going to get a guy from Florida to go play in Nebraska is a really difficult situation. Like that's really hard to do. Like, and I just think Nebraska is not like all those nice facilities, all that, everything. It's the same, like the great game day. Yeah, go to a game in Winnipeg. The playoff game in Winnipeg is probably the best hockey game you would ever go to. It's crazy. But, players don't think like that. Like, you still have to live there 12 months out of the year or 8 months, 9 months out of the year. And it's like guys would rather go live in Southern California or go live in Miami, and I think that the bigger cities and more places that are like not nicer, but are more, kind of appealing would be the right way to say it, is more in this day and age, in my opinion. And I think that's why Nebraska has fallen off too.
I agree, but I think some big NIL money would really change that. It's just a matter of if and when it'll ever happen there.
Yeah, I think one problem with Nebraska too is a lot of the Nebraska fans. It's an outdated program. They all talk about like the '90s and stuff, and like I'll be honest, like I'm only 27. I don't remember Nebraska football ever really being that good, besides under like Pelini. So like I feel like they just need to adapt their thinking, sort of like it's not that doesn't sell anymore.
I just don't see like, if if you could ask me to, like, yeah, of course I would rather coach at Nebraska than Temple, but I would rather live in Philadelphia than I would in Lincoln. And I just think it's more talent in that Philadelphia. There's more talent in Jersey. There's more talent in Philadelphia. Like, what state do you go to get talent from Nebraska? You go to Missouri. That Missouri has a lot of talent, but other than that, there's not that much, talent around. Like, and it's really hard to convince a kid from Texas to go to Nebraska when UT has just as much money, or Texas A&M has, and it's far from these kids, how kids where they're from, right? But I guess Notre Dame does it. So but Notre Dame has that high academic, they get a certain type of kid to go to Notre Dame, which is, in my opinion, not Nebraska. Like, Nebraska doesn't have the things that, other universities might have.
Sure, I think that's a good take.
So you guys think, what do you think their record's going to be?
For me with Nebraska, I think I don't know. It's 5 wins.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't see. I don't think they. I mean, I just don't think they have that good of a team.
And then another thing that I don't understand, what Coach Rule did. Coach Rule was built on running the football, physically dominating opponents, just like what we talked about.
Hmm.
And the offensive coordinator hire of Dana Holgerson, air raid offense, just does not make any sense for me.
Like it's not a fit really.
Yeah, it's never what he's done. And it's just like open up the, passing attack. It just, and the game that I think really was a program changing loss was when they had Ohio State on the ropes 2 years ago. If Nebraska wins that game, Ohio State doesn't go to the playoff when they won the national championship.
True.
It is a drastic shift in philosophy for them, but I would like to take you back to a coach who I'm notoriously hard on, Pat Narduzzi. He made kind of a similar switch when Pitt went to Mark Whipple, and that was Pitt's best year under Narduzzi. They won the ACC championship that game, and then for some reason, Narduzzi was pissed at Whipple for running the ball too much or throwing the ball too much and not holding the clock. So a drastic shift in the thought process isn't necessarily a bad thing either, but I do agree. Like it was kind of a head scratching move.
Yeah, and to do it in the middle of the season is even, and then the old offensive coordinator is still on the staff. He was the offensive coordinator at Temple's, who he was with for years. So I mean, I just think also the standards at Nebraska are just too high. Like it's it's not what it was, and I think the worst decision Nebraska ever made was leaving the Big 12
and firing Bo Pelini.
Oh, Bo Pelini was. I mean, I think Bo Pelini and then Cal firing. What's his name? I think the same year, the year after, they both did it, and I just think Cal's never ever recovered, and I think Nebraska's never ever recovered. And I just think it's really, really, it's really hard to win. And I think now they're in these power conferences are. You're going to be paying more buyouts for all the Big Ten money that you get every year because it's just really hard to compete with the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think that about wraps up our Big Ten preview. I think next week we do the SEC, and then we're 3 weeks away from Week 0, which we'll definitely have to do an episode for because there's actually a sneaky good Week 0 schedule this year.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean it will be fun for sure.
All right.